Do I think the referee should have done more to stop Mahrez? Yeah, maybe so. You know, maybe the state commission or somebody said, look, just don't try to get involved in the action too much. They do that time to time. But here's the point. Moreno had a long time to prepare for Mahrez, yeah? And he knew what he brought to the table. The Joseph Agbeko, let's hope I'm not butchering the brother's name, that fight alone laid down the blueprint of what you had to watch out for. You know, the guy threw a series of low blows, you know, he doesn't care where he punches, you know, that's how he fights. And to me, I'm not going to go into a rant, oh, you're a dirty fighter, because look, if he hits you low or rabbit punches you, then you have to respond in kind or do something to level the playing field. I don't know, foul him back. Hit him hard. This isn't strictly come dancing, you know. I've got no complaints about the fight. To be honest with you, you know, once you go in there, you have to take your destiny into your own hands, you know. Because let's forget the rules and the technicalities and the styles. Boxing is one of the most base sports out there. It's one of the oldest sports. It's fighting. You shouldn't be relying on referees and judges to do shit for you in there. You wouldn't do that in the street. And I know I shouldn't do that Larry Merchant thing and compare boxing to street fighting. But okay, if we do go to the base core of what boxing is fighting. And on this occasion, I'm going to do that. I mean, look, if you're fighting somebody in the street and they pick up a stick and crack it in your head, well, what are you going to do? That's not fair. Fuck that shit. You know what I mean? Look, you either block, dodge, or weave the stick and do what you got to do. There's people who know certain fighting styles, martial arts or MMA or boxing, who could find a prerequisite to the attack from the stick. There's some people that could. There's some people that couldn't. You take your chances in a street fight or in a boxing ring. That's how it goes. You just take your chances. You bring what you bring in, they bring in what they bring in. And I'm going to keep it real. Some of you MMA fans are full of shit. Well, you can't compare MMA to boxing because MMA is more like fighting on the street. No, the fuck it isn't. Because on the street, right, 3 men might jump you. Yeah? Somebody might pull out a burner. Somebody might pull out a blade. Right? Somebody might jump you from behind. There's no honor in street. It's nothing like fighting on the street. Right? As rough and ready as you guys might think MMA, no, it's sanitized. Right? You can't punch somebody in the back of your head, can you? I don't think you can. That's banned. There's other things you can't. There's loads of, I don't think you can gouge out the eyes. There's loads of things you can't do in MMA. Right? So you go in there knowing you are protected to a degree. There's not going to be no foreign elements when you enter the octagon. In the streets, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Somebody might you might be fighting someone, someone might see you beating up their brethren, and they just charge you from your blind side and ow! That's it. Right? So, boxers and MMA fighters, they don't really have much grounds for complaints. They really don't. They really don't. And I'm really going against my principles and contradicting myself in this video. But I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. And the Lara fight, and I'm going against my principles against boxers here, you know what I mean? But I'll be honest with you, man. There's an art to what he does, the way he can let you follow him around the ring. And he can still get the dexterity in his body to hit you. Yeah, there's an art to that. But at the same time, the purist boxers and the purist boxing fans, we're outnumbered. People don't want to pay to see that guy fight. They don't. Even if he is technically adept at what he was doing, yeah, I felt he landed more punches, especially that straight left. Nobody cares if fighters like that lose. People don't care because they think, well, I don't want to watch him fight. And I don't know, maybe I'm going to have to start coming round to the fact that majority rules. If you guys don't want to see pretty boxers, if the judges don't want to see it, then these pretty boxers are going to have to change the criteria too and say, look, well, I have to meet fire with fire to a degree. Maybe not turn into an all-out slugger, but you're going to have to modify your style for the modern day demands of boxing. Because, let's be honest, how much of the pure boxing fans, how much of you are going to fight Lara's corner and said, well, I thought he won the fight? None of you are really going to come out hard for him. You might make a post-fight video and say you thought he won, but you're not going to fight his corner. You're not going to complain. You wouldn't complain, for instance, if Canelo's people said, well, we'd rather fight Marta Rosen than Lara, and that's what we're going to do. Because it will be a more attractive fight for the television networks. There won't be enough of a protest to upstage any possibility of them marketing that fight. There just wouldn't be. That constituency just wouldn't have enough power to veto that fight. This is the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And I'm not going to start fooling myself anymore with these romantic ideas and values. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. They'd rather vacate the belt, and if necessary, they'll just make up a new belt. And then just get the cash negotiations rolling and, you know what I mean, start stuffing their pockets with that good old green stuff. I remember back in the 80s when Terry Marsh, a British fighter, he was challenging Joe Louis Manley, an African-American fighter, for his IBF light welterweight title. I do believe it was the IBF. And Joe Louis Manley wasn't a bad fighter. He wasn't a bad fighter. You know? Had his title, defended it a couple of times. He wasn't nothing out of the ordinary, but he was good. He was a good, smooth boxer puncher. And we all assumed that he was going to beat Terry Marsh quite easily. Yeah? He looked like an accomplished box fighter. He could hit quite hard. He could box pretty well. He looked competent in there. Didn't look unsure of himself. And it was just assumed that he was going to win the fight. Because let's face it, right? Terry Marsh was this very pale-skinned, I think he was a fireman, no, he was in the Marines, right? Very pale-skinned, light punching. Very light punching. And in my opinion, fragile looking. Light welterweight. British light welterweight champion. Not a bad fighter, but he didn't have no power in his shots, right? He wasn't aggressive. So we all just assumed that, this is just a routine defense for this guy, for Louis Manley. And Terry always boxed on the back foot. And all his major fights were shown on ITV. And I saw all of them. And Terry Marsh didn't fight against Clinton McKenzie. He was forced to go toe-to-toe to win the British title. I do remember that. He was forced into it. But if it was up to him, he would stay on the back foot and box. That was his shtick. Fight time approaches. First bell rings. Terry Marsh steams straight into Joe Louis Manley. Steams straight into him. From the bell. From the jump. And let me tell you this. From that opening bell, he didn't move from off my guy's chest. He didn't move from off there. And Joe Louis Manley just was not prepared for this. Just wasn't prepared. And neither was I. I was saying, what the fuck? Is this Terry Marsh? This man turned into a beast, to an animal. And he just stayed on his chest, kept him on the ropes, kept pounding away. And I think by the 8th or 9th round, he knocked him out. He knocked Joe Louis Manley out and won the championship because he realized that the old English straight left and milling on the retreat was not going to work. He really knew. He realized that. He realized that. That style in an American gym, what he's got there, they'd laugh at that. In a Mexican gym, all fighters, I think, to a degree, as we see some of the judging decisions as well, I think you have to be prepared to fight a couple of ways, and there's no way about it. I don't think there's no place for you to say you're just a pure boxer now. Not unless you are an absolutely superlatively flawless pure boxer. Then, okay, cool. But this is 2012. It's like I got access to all of Pernell Whitaker's fights, and I revisited the first Jose Luis Ramirez fight, which is widely recognized as a robbery. And I remember watching that on Midweek Sports Special back in the day. And yeah, he did land more punches, but he fought scared. He did fight scared. He fought scared. And now, being more mature as an adult, I'm thinking, well, I can see why that happened to him now. It wasn't right, because the rules are who lands more punches, more cleaner punches, not who is more machismo. I mean, that's the rules. In the rematch, he didn't look so scared. He didn't have that scared appearance on he looked more assured in the ring. And he won the decision. It's like Richard Abril, when he fought Brandon Rios. The way Brandon just kept boring forward, it made him look like he was doing more than what he was. And nobody cares about that fight now. Yeah, some of us bring it up, but who cares? Brandon Rios is the one who's getting the popular television slots. And like it or not, them television network slots are going to dictate what the public see. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do. And it's in all industries. It's like, Eric Morales participated in a big profile fight the other week against Danny Garcia, even though he was caught with banned substances in his body, and yeah, some of us don't think it's cool. But whether you like it or not, you're becoming desensitized to this phenomenon of drug taking. So what? You have to accept it as part of the sport because the reprimands and punishments are not that heavy. What else can you do? The laws around you and the unwritten laws, they shape your thinking. I don't care what you think. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I'm going to go there. Don't worry. I'm going to go there. Let's take pedophilia. Yeah? If you talk to most grown men, strong men, who are not perfect, but for the most part, they know right from wrong. They see that as a sick crime. And if you ask them, what would you do if you caught one of them? I'd kill him. And they mean it. I'd kill him. So how comes the laws are so lax in punishing them? When, if you was to take surveys in any place in the world, like you'd be getting percentages of 95, 98% of men saying, yeah, I want to kill them. I want to kill them. So what makes the people who control the judicial system or the judges any different from us? How comes they don't see it our way? They'll come out with some bullshit. Oh, it's human rights. We can't violate their human rights. They're humans, just like us. When, as we know, when they hold prisoners of war and things like that, they hold them without charging them, which is illegal for hours. They're doing it all the time. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't, because if they're trying to blow up everybody, yeah, they should do what they're doing. But what about their human rights? So that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Yeah? If you live in the UK, you see what's happening in the BBC. They've just been unveiling recently a sordid, dirty, filthy, faggot, paedophilic past. A circle which they've kept very tight of powerful men, stretching from BBC personalities, politicians, you name it, all tied up protecting this pedophile ring. I mean, look, in America, they just come out boldly and make these Nampla videos and shit. Denmark, I don't know if they still have them ridiculously low age of consent laws. You know? Crazy. Open your eyes. That's so you don't take the crime so serious. Yeah, there's some deep undertones to that. I'm not going to go into that. But you get where I'm going. You get where I'm going with this. The reason that the punishments are not so stringent for taking drugs in boxing, they're blooding you in. They're blooding you in to a world where money overtakes principles. So soon your conversations are going to be different. You're going to be saying, oh, he got reprimand A, which is a lesser punishment because he didn't take such a, how can I say, potent banned substance, you know. And then you're going to get B, which is a harsher penalty. Then you get C, which is, 5-year penalty. But that's what's going to happen. And the thing with boxing is, it's different from Lance Armstrong riding a bike around the track or Ben Johnson sprinting up the track in the 100 meters or some weightlifter juicing up or whatever. Because it's not good that they're conning the public and cheating by taking performance enhancing substances. It's not good they're doing that, but unless Michael Armstrong starts riding the bike erratically and knocking people over on the road, he doesn't pose a threat to the public or to his opponents. A boxer or MMA fighter, we know that the results can be a catastrophe if a opponent is defeated and the victor is found to have these substances in the system. So they have probably more reason to clean up their sport quickly than the other sports.
Will you gentlemen please try to be a little more quiet in the court?
If you go to certain countries or certain states in America, Amsterdam, and I think some parts in Los Angeles, I'm not sure where, and other places in the world, weed is decriminalized. Yeah? You can get methadone if you're a drug addict. In other places around the world, all types of recreational drugs are either legal or decriminalized. Like Portugal. Go look it up. You wasn't able to do all these things before. They're blooding you in to certain things. And it's no different for the defensive first-minded boxers, you know. You got the TV networks, you know, you got more and more websites, you got the YouTube boxing community, you got the Facebook boxing community, and you know what I mean, a lot of these people are voicing their disapproval at that style of fighting. And no, they're not deliberately conspiring to do that, to marginalize defensive-minded fighters, but they are joining up in thinking more and more, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And they have a big constituency. And that's where all the commercial advertising and revenue will be targeted. I didn't even need to say that. Let's go back to the core and base element of boxing. Fighting. Right? We can intellectualize the virtues of defensive boxing all we like. And it's good. It's a important component and aspect of the sport. But KOs. Who doesn't want to see a KO? You don't want to see a KO? Who doesn't want to see a KO? You're lying. You're lying if you're saying you hate KOs and you like boxing. You're lying. You just got to be lying. That is the ultimate goal, apart from exiting from out the ring in one piece, of a boxer. Score a KO. We've seen tons of fighters who've won fights and they've been disappointed with their performance. Why? because they haven't been able to put their man away. I see Tyson in post-fight interviews in his young days when guys like James Tillis or Mitch Blood Green went the distance with him, and you could see he was visibly frustrated by the fact he couldn't get rid of them. Yeah? Let me see you pay your money to see a live boxing match. And let's say there's 10 fights on the card. And you watch all 10 fights and there's not one knockdown in all 10 fights. Now, you might have seen some good boxing. You might have had some real good banter with your friends or who you went with. They might have had really good food in the stadium. You might have had a really good seat. You might have even enjoyed the evening. You might have even enjoyed the evening, yeah? But let me tell you this. The boxing supporter who went to the other fight card on the other side of town, where it was a 10-fight card, and he witnessed 7 knockouts on the bill. 7 knockouts. Knockdowns. Cuts. Let me tell you this. Even if the beer was warm and the food wasn't too good, and maybe somebody kept standing up in front of him and obscuring his view from seeing some of the action, he's going to remember his evening, I tell you, with probably more fonder memories than you did. After watching Oval McKenzie and Enzo Macronelli on Friday, is there a case for a second referee? And no, not a referee in the ring, but maybe a referee at ringside as well. It's clear that you could see on Ian John Lewis's face, the referee, that he knew he made a mistake. But the fact that he stopped and jumped in on the action and there's no standing 8 count, he was left with no choice but to stop the fight. When the fight, in my mind and most people's mind, it clearly should have continued. Because, you know, we was robbed of a conclusive ending. Because this ain't Strictly Come Dancing, you know. It doesn't matter that Enzo's been concussed in the ring several times before this. It doesn't matter that he could have really got hurt badly. It doesn't. It's time to stop the bullshitting. This is a sport where the combatants punch each other in the head. You know, so all this talk of safety. Let me tell you what safety in boxing is. Safety comes down to us, the promoters, and the ringside paramedics, the boxing board or state commission or whatever. All that comes down to is us hoping that somebody doesn't get hurt. You know? Anything after that is up in the air. When the objective is to render your opponent unconscious, how much grounds do you have to talk about safety in boxing? Not much. Let's keep it real. There's only so much safety and regulations that you can put in place for a sport like boxing. It's basic. And look, the same goes for the fighters. There's only so much defense they can learn and so much skills they can learn. Like, you know, you always hear, especially on YouTube, I see so much people, yeah, he needs to get a new coach and work on his defense and this and that. And you think, well, hold on. He's already won titles with what he's got already. You know? Nature balances a lot of shit out. And I'm going to keep repeating that because it does. Yeah? The facts are, he's probably maxed out all his ability as it is. And that's it. But we can't accept that. Because in this generation, we're always just fed a lot of bullshit, you know, like we tell fat, ugly girls that, yeah, you can be the prom queen and a supermodel. And we tell the unathletic kid that, yeah, you can play for Tottenham Hotspur or Liverpool or Man City. We tell them, feed you bullshit. Or, you know, the news will come out and say, yes, the military is about to do a strategic bombing in so-and-so, and they're going to wipe out this faction of the terrorists. And they make it sound like it's a video game where you can just hit a certain target and you just take out the bad guys and that's it. And yes, in the name of democracy. No, it doesn't work like that. When the bomb goes off, yeah? When the bombs go off, little children get their skin burnt off and they scream in agonizing pain, right? Mothers cry on the floor, yeah? It's devastation. It's real shit, right? That's what happens. A lot of the times they don't even get the terrorists then, right? The innocent people get fucked up. That's the bottom line of it. Right? If you take place in these severe sports or games or political aims, that's the reality. If the referee sees one fighter committing fouls, and, you know, obviously, I mean, the rule books say you can't hit low, you can't rabbit punch, but they happen quite frequently, and the referee has to let a lot of that go, or the fight would have no ebb and flow. Now, there's obviously a certain line that the referee has to pull up a fighter if he's repeatedly fouling. But what is the line? Where is the line? Who drew the line? I mean, because the rule is you're not supposed to foul. So if you do foul, where is the line? Because you can't please everybody. Let's say if the referee was really tough on Abner Maris and started pulling him up for every low blow and every rabbit punch or whatever he was doing, crowd would have started jeering. If the crowd thought it was affecting how Maris was fighting, and he broke up the action until the fight was no longer a pleasing spectacle. And let's say Maris had the bigger fan base, the bigger constituency. He was more popular with the audience that was watching this particular television network broadcasting the fight. That referee might well find it hard to get any decent work again at that level, at world championship level. It's the truth. It's the truth. You have to think of shit like that. So you can't please everybody. You can't please everybody, you know? The referees are bound to have secret talks with promoters, maybe not promoters, with the state commission or the board, not to go so hard on the television-friendly fighter or the guy with the fan base, yeah? That's the truth. Look, when Norton fought Ali in the third fight, you know, and it might not be the truth, but I'm just following what the word on the boxing street was. Is that it was a political decision. Yeah, at the time, there was no other flagship players to hold up boxing, so Ali had to win the fight, and Norton's efforts had to be sacrificed. Is it wrong? Well, maybe. But could Norton have been the flagship face of boxing? No, he couldn't. So I don't know. You got to deal with it and make the best of it and move on. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always incentives to spice up sports. They have pacemakers in middle distance running. You know, in the Grand Prix athletic meetings, you get so much money if you break a world record. You know, in the prize fighter tournament in England, you get a £2,000 bonus, which Larry Akindale got if you score a KO in the final. And trust me, you know what I mean? It's coming soon where 12-round title bouts will have knockout incentives, you know? You'll get more if you score a KO. That's coming soon. And obviously that's going to pose questions for the fighters who don't go out searching for KOs, you know? But that's how it is. These changes are inevitable because boxing has had a free reign for, I don't know, the best part of over 100 years, with nobody contesting its relevance. But now we have MMA, you have UFC. Yeah? That's why the UK have the prize fighter tournament, because for years, you know, cable networks, terrestrial TV barely show boxing on television. They have to find new formats. And boxing's not the only sport. in cricket, you get the one day, is it seven, is it, I don't know, if it's seven aside, I'm not really into cricket. You get seven aside cricket matches, and it's just one day's play as opposed to 5 drawn out days. And they say it's faster, it's quicker, it's more exciting. The same with rugby. You get rugby sevens, you know, because they're looking for alternative formats to sell the sport. Some sports do not struggle to sell themselves, like football. Not gridiron, but proper football, soccer. You know, like the Premiership, the Champions League. The turnovers are always rewarding. You know what I mean? They're always doing good numbers and reaching new heights. You know, so that's why they've had 5-a-side football for ages. But it's still a novelty sport that you might occasionally see on cable networks. But it's never going to break through and threaten the 11-a-side model because it sells itself. Football doesn't really... All right, they're thinking of goal line technology, but for the most part, they're not really going to have to fuck with the format because the fans are happy with what they've got. I mean, somewhere like Sky Sports, they're probably putting boxing on the backs of the revenue they take from Premiership football, rather than the revenue that the boxing shows they promote actually gain themselves. Right? And that happens in all aspects of television. Like, there's certain specialized programming that the networks want to keep on television for whatever reasons. Either they have an affinity to it, or they know there's a certain demographic that like that programming, and they don't want to take it off. They want to keep it there. It could be like, I don't know, gardening. I'm not saying or stamp collecting. It could be anything. It's like a landmark or a tradition to that company's history, but they keep it there even though it's not doing numbers. And let's say X Factor, or I don't know, This Is How It Is in Essex, or whatever I know I butchered the name of it. I don't really give a fuck, right? Them programs are getting the big advertising revenue. They're the programs you always see, this program is sponsored by. They're keeping them programs on the air. That's how that works. You know? And across the pond, you've got Prize Fighter coming soon. There's other countries I think who've got it already. I think I read it out in a boxing news the other day. They was asking in the panel section, they was asking, I think there was 2 American people on the panel. They was asking, will the Prize Fighter be a success in America? They're not asking if they're saying will. So it's in hand already. It's in hand already. In one of the very early videos I did when I started making videos, I think I was talking about the belts, and I was pointing out that, I can't remember what I was talking about, but I did point out that the reason that contests went from 15 rounds to 12, it wasn't because they was looking out for the fighter's health, because, again, there wasn't no empirical data that 15 rounds is less dangerous than 12. They just didn't take them studies, yeah? Right? It was done for advertising concerns and television schedules. That's what it was done for. Just want to switch up pace and topic and finish off the video. Basically, just want to add to a topic that I beat in the head quite regularly, and that's fighters carrying on past their supposed expiry date. Just carrying on from when I compared individual sports to team sports, and the dynamic of comparing a boxer to a team full of individuals playing their trade in whatever sport you like to choose. Now, I'm going to use Roy Jones for the example. And I'm freestyling this one. I haven't written down no notes. I'm just going to keep it going as I move along. So I'm just going to let it conclude how it concludes. Roy Jones's employment as a boxer as a sports entity has more of a self-employed angle than in footballers. You know, they know they're going to earn $120,000 or pounds every week. They know that's coming through until they negotiate for more or whatever. That's what they're going to get for that season. Roy Jones at his peak, he might earn $1 million for one person. Then if he can build up enough interest from the networks, etc., and the fans, his next purse might be 5, 10 million, 20 million. Yeah? It can fluctuate like that. It all depends how creative that he is and the people around him, his management, or how innovative they are, or how savvy business acumen they have to determine what they earn. In a way, it's all down to them, and that's the self-employment angle that I'm talking about. You see, Manchester United is a franchise. Roy Jones is a franchise. This is why it's so hard for elite boxers just to walk away from the sport, because Roy Jones is Manchester United playing in the 4th tier or the 3rd tier of professional football, as opposed to the Premiership, as opposed to being in the top league, in the top spot. That's what he is now. He's Manchester United, falling to the wayside, relegated. Now, let's say Manchester United got relegated and they're no longer the top team in Britain and they're playing in the 3rd and 4th division. You're still going to get fans who were supporting them when they was a Premiership team. You're going to get members of the board who still walk around like they're the top team in the country, even though that's gone. I mean, they're not there no more. But they still talk about their club like they're the Dons, the top boys, and they're not. I'll tell you a great example. Leeds United fans. Leeds United, they done the double, I think, back in the day. They won the FA Cup and the league, and they were good. I think they won in Europe in the 70s. They were really good. And then they had a resurgence in the 90s, where they won the league and FA Cup and whatever, and done really good in Europe, and they fell to the wayside. I think, where are Leeds now? I'm not even sure if they're in the 2nd tier of professional football. I'm not even sure where they are. But you don't even hear about them. Right? But if you talk to their fans or certain members of the board or their staff, they walk around like they're a Premiership team, and they're not. They got relegated. They're not. They haven't done shit for years. Fucking years. And it's the same if you talk to Roy Jones. He still exudes the same confidence. Like the guy who defeated James Toney, Bernard Hopkins, John Ruiz. He still walks around like that guy. He's struggling to give up his franchise. He's struggling to do that. He's Roy Jones. Don't you forget. He's, as far as he's concerned, he's still the 2nd middleweight and the only middleweight champion, along with Bob Fitzsimmons, to win the heavyweight championship also. That's who he sees himself as. Now, once again, I'm going to reiterate my stance. You know I don't advocate fighters to retire, blah, 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 right? But I'm just like you guys. I see the same things. Damn, right, you can't hold a punch no more and you can't duck them like you used to. I see that. I see all that. All Roy sees is, I'm the GOAT. That's all he sees, is his franchise. He can't give that. If he retires and he just sticks to his nicely paid commentary job, and he gets a few gigs talking or whatever he does to supplement his income, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He's not satisfied. Why? When he's in the ring, the Roy Jones franchise, as far as he's concerned, is still in business. Even though we can see, and I'm still comparing him to Manchester United getting relegated into the lower divisions. That the changing rooms haven't been painted for a little while. Somebody kick off a couple of the security doors. The vending machine don't work, right? The pitch needs attending to. The grass is growing up towards the moon, right? Not a lot of spectators are coming to see the franchise, right? But he doesn't care because it's his franchise. That's the way he sees it. It's his franchise. He's deluded like them Leeds United fans. Yeah, of course he is. He's been building his franchise since he started boxing. So if he was 13 or 12 when he started, and let's say he started at 12, and by the age of 14 or 15, people started seeing the obvious precocious gifts that he had. And oh man, you want to see Roy Jones box, man. Yo, Roy, you're the best I've seen from 14 or 15. That's all he's been hearing all his life, up until the point of when he beat John Ruiz, when he was way into his 30s or whatever. Right? That's all he's been. Oh man, you were the shit. When he went to the Olympics when he was a kid, oh man, you're really good. When he was winning, is it the AAU amateur champions? When he was winning, is it the Golden Gloves as an amateur? When he was a kid, oh man, Roy Jones, you're so good. That's all he's been hearing. Yeah, is pure adoration for his franchise. And now he looks like a man who's got a tin of turtle wax, trying to polish up some old beat up Bentley that once came fresh off the showroom floor. That's who he looks like. Yeah, I'm not laughing at Roy. You know, I mean, there's no sense trying to be over dramatic and serious when you're talking about even dark issues. Yeah, or, you know what I mean, you can't get the full emotion out. If you can't laugh at the dark side of things, then you probably can't express the whole spectrum of it. And that's all I was doing. I'm not taking the man's life as a joke or nothing. Yeah. What Roy is going to have to accept is that he's going to struggle to find a franchise as successful as the one he built up from a kid boxing till he beat John Ruiz. Because even George Foreman, he had phenomenal success selling George Foreman grill, and still does. He probably earned more money selling the grills than boxing. Probably. I'm just going to put it out there. Yeah? But at the same time, but even with that, when you talk about George Foreman, what's the first thing you think about? Grills? No. You think about the red trunks with the white trim on the side. You think about the guy who dribbled Joe Frazier up and down the court in Kingston, Jamaica. Yeah? You think about the guy who held up that little small American flag when he won the Olympics. You think about the guy Ali Boumbaye when he lost to Ali and Zaire. Yeah? You even think how he made his descension to the floor in that fight. You vividly remember him being on the ropes and how the punches spun him around to the canvas. Yeah? That's part of his franchise. Even that not so great moment as far as his personal sporting success, that's part of his franchise. That's an integral part of sports film footage. An integral part of his franchise. You think about the guy who landed the left-right combination and knocked out Michael Moorer when he was in his 40s. That's who you think about. Not grills. Not grills. Financially, his most successful franchise financially is the grills. Yeah? But the franchise that lives immortally in the world is George Foreman, the boxer. And I was going to say the word lucky, but he's not lucky. He is one of the rare, I'm talking like, he's the diamond in the rough out of the boxers, who happens to be a Hall of Famer. But he has a product to his name that, even though it can't replace George Foreman, the boxer, as a franchise, that it stands in its own right in the world of business and commerce. That's rare in boxing. Don't even let me go through the heartbreak stories. You know what I mean? And yeah, George probably still thinks he could knock out the Klitschko's. He probably still thinks he could. But, you know, he's 60 odd now, so the urge is probably gone. The urge is probably gone. Roy's problem is, I'll tell you what Roy Jones's problem is. He's still going into the gymnasium. And he's hitting the speedball twice as fast as fighters half his age. Yeah? He's still working the heavy bag much more efficiently than they are. Yeah? He's completing all his cardiovascular exercises with less effort than most of the fighters, and probably all the fighters in the gym. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that his hands are faster than everybody's in the gym no more. Yeah? It doesn't matter that every fighter in the gym has to sit down and watch him spar and work out. And all they can do is learn. Every time he goes in there. All they can do, because he's so fucking brilliant. It doesn't matter that everybody is watching in utter awe when they see him working out on the mitts and applauding after they've watched a master craftsman. Because the facts are, even Roy Jones having more ability than most of us will have in 10 lifetimes, when he goes into the ring in 2012, there's more elements required to succeed than his performances in the gymnasium. He's still got big biceps. He's still got that muscular physique. He still looks young in his face. And this is a dilemma not only for Roy Jones, but for Evander Holyfield. They have demons. They have demons. A lot of boxers have them. You know? If he walks away from the sport, what happens to the franchise? Now, let's go back to the scenario where I put Manchester United in the third or fourth tier of British football. They're no longer in the Premiership. They're no longer the top dogs or the champions. Who's the chairman of Manchester United? I'm not even sure. I think it could still be the Glazers. I'm not sure, the American guys. But even though the team isn't doing well, they're not just going to close down the stadium and say, well, fuck this shit. What's the point? And walk away from it and leave everything in there. And in this analogy I'm using, it would be easier for them to walk away because it's just a building. That's all. It's just a building. Roy's a human franchise. How does he walk away from that? Football players come and go. They transfer out of this club, they go to that one, they move abroad and ply their trade. It's not like the old days where footballers would stay at one club and they loved that club. They had affinity with the fans, the community. No, them days are dead. Them days are dead. Yeah. And it's not like they own the club. They just play for them. So when they leave or retire, yeah, they might go back because, yeah, they support the club and they love the club. But it's not theirs. It's not their franchise. You know, because let's say it was a successful footballer and he's struggling to deal with retirement. He has a support group of the old players who was in the same successful team as him. And, you know, they're going through the same thing. They can reminisce on the good old days and shit like that and cheer each other up. And not only that, he's probably not only played for that one club, he's got other guys from other teams who he's played with, you know, and that's a support unit. But how many Roy Joneses can Roy Jones talk to about how he's struggling to deal with that? You know what I mean? Damn. None. That's how many. None. There's only a few boxers who make it to that level. There's only a few. There's not many. I mean, and regardless of how badly we see Roy performing, he can still be billed as a professional boxer. That's what he's a professional boxer. As badly as he's slidden since the Ruiz fight, he's still a professional boxer. With the footballer, when he can no longer run, I don't know, 10.90 doing the 100-meter sprint, when he can no longer score what average of goals he scored a season, when he can no longer perform, then there's nowhere for him to go in. There's no way back into the professional game. There's no way back. He has no choice but accept it. He has no choice. That dynamic doesn't exist in boxing. Bernard Hopkins is still a world-class fighter at 48. Yeah? There is no footballers, professional footballers, in their 40s in England. There may be a couple of goalkeepers in their 40s. Maybe. I don't know who they are. Maybe, and not many. Goalkeepers normally perform until their advanced years more than the outfield players in football. You know? And it's not just Roy. Eddie Setback is always entertaining James Toney, talking about how would you fare against the Klitschko's? How would you do this? Tony wants to fight Fury. He wants to fight him, a heavyweight prospect, you know? And Setback ain't the only one who does that. There's people in that gym with Tony saying, yeah, man, you could kill them fucking Ukraine bums, man. You fuck them up. You know what I'm saying? They're still telling him that. I saw one guy in the Ellie Setback video the other day running his mouth about why I don't rate the Klitschko's, because all in European fighters are bumps. Basically, just he's mentally sucking James Toney's dick. Right? Because Tony ain't done nothing since he came up dirty after he fought Ruiz. He hasn't really done anything. Hasn't done anything in the game. And it is a little creepy the way Eddie Setback sort of, I don't know, sort of accommodates him in his deluded fantasies that he's going to get a world title shot again, you know? But the hangers-on and the fans, they can't give it up. They're still telling Tony, they're still telling Roy, they're still telling Evander Holyfield, they're still telling Shane Mosley. They're still coming on websites saying, yo, man, I bet James Toney could beat David Price. I bet he could beat Fury. I bet he could beat Deontay Wilder. I bet Roy can still win a cruiserweight title. All he needs is this break and that break, and it will happen. Some of you are so still caught up in the aura that was Mike Tyson, the boxer, that deep down in your mind, you still think he could come back and dominate the heavyweight division. Today, there's 1,000 boxing managers who wouldn't hesitate to promote a Roy Jones Kimbo Slice fight, or a James Toney title fight, or any kind of James Toney fight, or Shane Mosley, or any boxer who's been plying their trade from the 90s. And there's 1,000 managers, boxing managers, who would manage them shamelessly and see how much financial dividends they could extract out of that venture. Yeah? Alex Ferguson or Harry Redknapp, you know what I mean? They wouldn't even entertain that, because it's going to affect their standing in their employment if they pick old players or any player who isn't competent or capable of doing a job in the Premiership. Boxing doesn't have that pressure of performance. Football doesn't have that hustling element. Like, like sometimes, and especially with the addition of 50 Cent in the game, like, it's just sort of really brought it home, man, that boxing has this hustler, pimp, car salesman sort of image. Boxing promoting, I mean. It really does, like Frank Maloney sometimes, man. He really does the Arthur Daly, Cockney wheeler and dealer role. And you know what I mean? Football doesn't really have that. You know what I'm saying? Because boxing is so unregulated. It allows for tacky elements just to keep gripping onto the sport when they should have long been removed. I mean, long ago now. Don King and his son Carl and some of their managerial and promotional practices. Bob Arrowman, some of the shit that he was involved with was it the IBF or Robert Lee back then. You got hangers-on, undesirables, leeches. Like, Tyson was paying people salaries for carrying his towels, man, and shit like that. It's ridiculous, man. You know, you can't think of no other sports that just have all these leeches and undesirables hankering around the game. There's nobody going up to Michael Jordan and telling him, man, you kick LeBron's ass all over the court even now, Mike. That's not happening. It's not happening. The dynamics are different, man. And boxing, being the wonderful but weird sport that it is, has set the bar at such a level that it can't be lowered back down to a mediocre standard again. Because we've already had the Jersey Joe Walcotts, the George Foremans, Bernard Hopkins. I mean, and to a less famous degree, there was guys like Sol Mamby back in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, the man was a world champion. He was old, man. He was so old. And even now, I think he's in great condition and he's talking about fighting. You know what I mean? He must be nearly 70 or 60 or something. You know what I mean? That dude's old. You know what I mean? You know? You don't see 40-odd-year-old footballers walking about saying, yeah, I was just in the World Cup winning team. It just doesn't happen. You know, and that's what makes boxing such a great sport, man, and such a tragic sport as well. And I can't really say no more in this video. That's why it's so hard for them to walk away from the franchise. Peace out.